Hi, I'm Dr. Marc, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes Nightwish's performance of the Phantom of the Opera so awesome. Here we go.
Sleepy son to me, in dreams he came, that voice which calls to me and speaks my name. And do I dream again? For now I find the Phantom of the Opera is here inside my mind.
Okay, so far, sounds pretty similar to the actual show itself. The song, What's Going On? Really cool mood start. Starts really small so they have somewhere to go. She's dressed in this yellow long coat that is awesome with her eyes and her face. Really makes her pop out from the crowd. Gives her this kind of innocent look that we expect with Christine in the Phantom of the Opera. And so it reads really, really cool. It's awesome so far. You get this much more classical sound. It's a lot taller in the back of her mouth. We get a little bit more vibrato. It's a little more pronounced here in this case. Again, this is the first time I'm hearing it, sing it, or listening to her sing. Obviously, I've listened to Floor sing before, and this is my first time going back further in the band's history and listening to this. And so it's a great sound. Really, really nice, beautiful, warm, rich sound. And I'm excited to see where they take it and where they go with it. Cool. Building suspense.
Say once again with me, I stray so wet. My power over you grows stronger yet.
Okay, one of the things that I come across a lot with people who are trying to sing this style, this kind of grit, is that they try to do it all the time. You'll notice here that he isn't singing with this all the time. It's just on very specific moments and specific words. The rest of the time, it's actually pretty open. This space in back, the airflow is relatively consistent. It's a really resonant, healthy sound the majority of the time. The other thing that he's doing here when he does growl is he's not singing super loud. It sounds loud because it's resonant. But if you were to take that mic away, I think you'd realize that decibel level, he's not singing super loud. Consequently, when he does put in that growl, he's not putting a lot of force behind it. Consequently, it's not wrecking his voice, and it's staying relatively easy and light. We can hear that because the notes after the growl are not rough and tense or tight. And so it's working. It works really well. And it gives us this really nice edge. It's also really cool because if we contrast it with her sound that she's making to start, she sets up this expectation of what we are expecting to hear in our ear. He provides a contrasting voice. It gives a little more grit to the Phantom character that we're used to and picturing in our brain, which is really kind of cool for the character. And it's really, really great.
Well, though you turn from me to glass behind, the Phantom of the Opera is there inside your mind.
Those who have seen your face draw back in fear. I am the mask you wear.
My speed they'll hear.
So if we talk placement, she's placing it more high, a little further back. She's still exposing these top teeth, you'll notice, keeping this ad there in the upper two smile. She's still keeping mostly ass space in the back, but just adding that height to it and pulling the placement a little further back, which again, you might say, well, what do you mean by placement? What I mean is we sense it by feeling resonance in a different place. So if you go nya 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 nya, you're gonna feel it really buzzy up here in your sinuses. If you go oh, you're gonna feel it kind of resonate further back in your mouth and up top there, maybe even your eyes. There's all these different places where we can feel that resonance. The reason we talk about placement is because if we ask our body to have that sound resonate in a specific place, we give that as its goal, it'll do a bunch of other things and little changes in the voice and how you're shaping things to make that happen. So it's just a helpful way to think about the voice and getting the sound we're looking for. In this case, this warmer place that she uses that's placed further back creates this more operatic sound, right? His forward, snarly, bright, kind of growly sound brings it forward, which gives us nice contrast between the two and works really well with what they're doing musically here. So really, really cool. Other thing you'll notice, the interplay that they have. They're looking at each other, they're playing with each other. It's just fun, right? To see these people interacting on stage also gets the audience involved and makes them want to interact and be a part of it too, which is really great showmanship and really fun to watch.
Your spirit and my voice, they won't combine. The sound of all the uprising will stand for
When all your fantasies you always knew.
Okay, I'll take it back here. He's actually using this growl sound much more than I was expecting to hear. And is that a big problem? I don't know. The only way we'd really know for sure is if we talked to him afterward or saw what was going on or could really hear how tired or fatigued he was at the end of the show. What I'm hearing here, though, suggests that it's probably just fine. It doesn't sound like he's really pressing into it, pushing into it. He's just creating this growl and keeping the airflow relatively consistent and not pushing a lot at it. The times when he really kind of gets loud and sings into his voice, the growl disappears. Even at the kind of top end, you'll hear that it opens up and this app place gets really clean, and we even have vibrato coming through it, which suggests that he's freeing up that voice so that he's keeping it easy and really focusing on keeping a healthy vocal production, even though he's introducing this grit, growl, and rasp later on. He's doing it in a way where he's limiting the vocal capital he's spending when he is doing the growl by minimizing the highness of pitch, the stress, the tension, and also singing quieter on that sound when he's singing with that growl so that it balances out. And so as I'm listening here, if I had to guess afterwards, I think he probably might be tired after a full show because it's a full show. But my guess is after listening that he'd probably be just fine after this song and would recover relatively fast and be ready to roll for the next bit. And so that's really, really awesome to watch him kind of morph between these different styles and sounds and colors and textures and do it in a way that is essentially keeping the foundation technique relatively consistent, the breath flow staying consistent. He's not pushing at it. He's keeping the space here and back of his mouth, the oral pharynx, relatively open and consistent. He's keeping the placement really forward and consistent. And so when he does make a color change, it means something, but it doesn't pull us out of the texture or sound like a mistake. It's not such a big gear shift where it's like, oh, something's wrong. Think about your car. It shifts gears all the time and changes kind of how it works depending on how fast you're going, what's going on, and what you need from it. But if all of a sudden you have a really big clunk happen in your car, you know something's wrong. Same thing here. We don't get any of that in what he's doing, even though he's changing these sounds and adding grit and rasp to it. It's on purpose, and it matches what he's singing and saying. And the rest is consistent enough where it sounds professional and deliberate, which is what we're looking for. So awesome. Okay, so awesome. Two things that I want to talk about here at the end. Number one is I get a lot of questions about screaming, growling, adding grit. The places you want to start, and you'll find all kinds of stuff on YouTube from other teachers, some that I agree with, some that I don't, and I think are actually going to hurt you and not help you. But the places I think you want to start to be able to get in a healthy way are first, really working with a stir straw and getting that airflow consistent, right? And I have a video that's on stir straws. You can also Google it, or here on YouTube, you can type in stir straw exercises and you'll find some of those as well that will help you use that so you get that breath flow really consistent. That's really important. You'll also see some other ones that have you blow through a straw and bubbles in water. Very similar thing as well, where we're just trying to keep that airflow moving consistently so pressure doesn't build up behind those vocal folds and create this tension-filled environment that's going to cause damage to those vocal folds and overpressurize them. The next thing we want to work on is the vocal fry. So it's that just try it. Try just going on and then try revving it almost like it sounds like an engine. And you'll notice as you'll do that just slowly, you'll be able to keep that grit in there. But it's going to keep it in a way that is really free, isn't over-pressurizing those vocal folds, isn't making them come together and in a really forceful way that's going to damage them. Again, do we want to do this super loud? No, we want to just keep these vocal folds really floppy and loose and relaxed. And that's what we're going for with this vocal fry. Then as we're able to do that, we want to keep getting higher and higher and then use that as the basis of creating all these other sounds. Key to it is realizing that when you're performing and doing these things, you're doing it with a mic. So let the mic do the work and amplify these raspy, gritty sounds. And that's going to be the top 3 things that are going to make it successful for you when you try to scream and growl and create all these kind of raspy, gritty sounds. Second thing I want to point out here is I'm going to put a little plug in for opera. You'll notice we're hearing these side by side and they're different sounds, yes, but they're not mutually exclusive. And there's a lot more that's happening that's the same than is different. Good singing is good singing. So you're going to hear consistent breath flow. You're going to hear consistent use of this oropharynx and keeping it open and using it to shape and color that sound. You're going to see this upper tooth smile, this forward ping, and that happens in both of them, this resonant forward space. You're going to see that these abs, for the most part, are probably staying out and suspended and not grabbing, getting tight. I've heard, especially when we're talking about growl and rasp, some teachers talking about really tightening up those muscles and pushing the air out. You don't really need to do that. The air is going to come out on its own. What we need to do is control the air by keeping it suspended. If we push and contract and almost do a crunch as we're singing, what's going to happen is it's going to make our diaphragm underneath these rib cage rigid, tight. It's also then going to creep up into the rest of our voice and also have a greater tendency to create tension and force and push. Where if we'll keep it suspended, that diaphragm can stay more flexible and that air stays more free to stay fluid, to go through those vocal folds in a way that is dynamic and able to stay consistent without introducing tension into the rest of the body and the vocal mechanism. So try both, see what it does for you. My experience is by keeping that suspension there, it's a lot healthier, especially when we're working on this scream and this growl, really working on keeping it in that vocal fry place and the suspended breathing style that we're talking about here. As we're singing, we breathe in, and as we sing, we want to still keep it suspended and flexible in this out position. Awesome stuff. Loved it. So cool. Looking forward to seeing some of their other stuff. Please feel free to recommend what you want to hear down below. Find me on Wizio.com. You're going to see down below here that I put a coupon code in there so you can get 20% off your first time on Wizio. I think it goes through like December 31st or something. Find me there or book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com or vocalease.net. I would love to work with you online and help you or your group sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level. See you next time.